Can you give us a good street fight story from the Iowa days? Who tried to jump you and then you took out like 10 guys as they all tried to like give us an old school little heathen street fight story?
All right. One time I was at a spot called Big Dog Billiards, and this one guy, I was talking on the phone one night, and it was with a girl, and she's like, "Oh, so and so," and he used to go to my high school, is here, and he was like talking shit in the background, and he gets on the phone, he's kind of yapping his chops, saying this and that. And I was like, "Hey, bro, I don't talk shit. I'll see you when I see you." I seen this guy like a year later. I was at this Big Dog Billiards, and my buddies, they go walking off in the corner, and I was paying to get the balls to go shoot some pool. And I seen the guy, and I said, "Hey," and he's like, "Oh." He got all scared, right? And his boys were there. Like they had like probably about 14 dudes with him, but he was walking with this other cat. And I was like, "Hey, what's up, motherfucker? Like, let's go outside." And my buddies, they had walked, out to the side to go over to the pool station where we were going to go. So I started walking out with these guys. Well, my friends happened to see me, and all these guys are like going out. So we get outside, and like I'm like kind of getting at it with this guy, and the owner comes out and goes, "Hey, man, you guys don't do that shit here. If you guys go around the corner, it's whatever. But if you guys start fighting, we're gonna call the cops." And my buddies like come flying out the door. They're like, "Hey, what's up? What's up?" So I'm like, "Hey, let's go around the corner. Let's go fight." So we go around the corner, and the kid, he didn't want nothing to do with me, but his buddy, that was there, he was getting like all excited. He's like, "All right, I'll fight you. I'll fight you." So we get into a scrap, bro, and I knocked out his tooth.
Oh.
And the first couple exchanges, and he's like covering his mouth. He's like, "Oh, oh," and I'm like, "Yeah," I'm pumped up at this point. I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, motherfucker?" Like, "Yeah, yeah." And his boy, another friend. Oh, by the way, that wasn't the guy that I was supposed to fight.
Oh.
He wanted nothing to do with me, so I ended up knocking his friend's tooth out, right? And so he's all hurt. He's like, "Oh, like I'm good, I'm good." So I'm like, I'm pumped at this point, like just kind of flexing, egos kicking up. And his boy was like ripping off his shirt, like a completely different dude than the dude I'm supposed to fight. Like now this is another friend. So I'm like, "You want some too?" Like Debo, like, "You want some too, yo,
Yeah.
old man?" And dude, we get into an exchange, and then boom, knock out this motherfucker's tooth. And then like I'm just going nuts. And I only got like 4 homeboys with me, and it's me, so it's like 5, and there's like 15 dudes. But I'm with this one cat. He's a bulldog from Fresno. He's got a big Aztec. He's a Mexican dude. He's got this Aztec like tattoo. He looks like a scary dude, and he's like, "Hey man, if you guys jump in, I'm gonna pop the trunk and start popping fucking caps at all you guys."
Oh, no.
So everybody's like, "All right, 1-on-1." So there I was, dude, and in one night knocked out two teeth.
Damn.
I was like 18 at the time, and like all my buddies, they're a little bit older. They're all like up in their 21, 22, and they took me out to the bar, like, and had a great night. But just to finish the story, when I knocked out these guys, like their tooth, they're all kind of quit. I'm pumped up, and I looked over to the dude I was actually supposed to fight, and I'm like, "You little fucking bitch, look at you! Like your boys took an ass whooping for you, motherfucker." And I'm like, "You guys are friends with this cat? This guy's a piece of shit." And then we just took off, went and had a good night. But 2 teeth knocked out in one night, bro.
Damn.
18 years old.
The
I probably got some. If you look real close, man, I got scars on my
yes
on my knuckles from like knocking teeth in from when I was a kid, bro. I used to get in fights all the time.
Like how
when
many?
I was in second grade.
Yo,
like,
those knuckles have seen some things and have hit some things too.
Yeah, and they don't swell up. Told you after the Jimmy Rivera fight, there's a thing where I'm like, no swelling. Hands, I mean, God given right here, bro.
Wow. How many street fights do you think you got into back in the day?
Man, I've probably been in well over 30 street fights, bro.
Wow. Were you ever arrested?
Yeah, I was arrested on fight night. Come on, act like you don't know.
Well, come on. I don't mean from that. I mean, I remember that story. That was the craziest story of all time in Minnesota. I mean, like from the street fights.
Yeah, I did get arrested one time for a street fight. I was in a bar, and I was 18 and got into it with these guys, and yeah, I definitely went to jail. They actually started the fight. It was funny. We were just looking up for some friends. Me and a buddy of mine. We're going to look for somebody to get out of there. Some dude's like over there with a couple buddies, like he's arguing with his girlfriend. We kind of just happened to hear a tussle, and then he's like, "What the fuck are you guys looking at?" And then like he was yelling at his girlfriend, and we're like, "Hey, dude, we're just looking for somebody." And he comes up and he kind of like starts pushing me, putting his hand on my chest, and next thing you know, bro, I just start clocking him because at that point, I'm like, dude, these guys are gonna try to fight us. And me and my homie, we wreck house. and the security grabbed us up. I'm talking to this cop. I'm like, hey man, these guys started it, this and that. Well, the guy comes down and he's covering his nose, he's bleeding, and he's like, it was him, it was him, and I'm like, that's the guy I got into a fight. And then the cop's like, hey man, I'm sorry, bro. And the cop was actually being really cool. I remember he's like, I gotta arrest you. And I'm like, bro, he started this shit. Like, we just finished it. Like he was over there yelling at his girl. We had nothing to do with it. Like the guy was just upset that we happened to look over, and that was the first time I went to jail.
Damn. It's crazy. I bet there's a lot of new fans now that don't even know the Fight Night story. That are probably Googling right now, being like, "What the hell?" You know what I mean? Because so long ago. That was 2013, I think, or 2012, October,
2012.
Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know what, man? Dana White, dude. Props to him, dude. He's still a great friend, and I'll never forget him really truly having my back. And yeah, that was a wild one, bro.
I was working for Fox back then. I was backstage and I saw kind of like all the madness going on. And he did an interview with us backstage, but I could just see the look on his face. Like he was like a raging bull back there, just like determined to fix this.
Yeah, he tried three different ways, bro. He had money, he had a wire, and they were just screwing him around. My bail was $100,000 cash surety, which means it had to be 100 grand, not 10 grand for the bond. He was with he actually told me he was with a lawyer when Paris Hilton had dropped that bag of coke back in the day. He was with her lawyer at the time, and they're like, dude, I've never heard of this. Like, I don't like Iowa's being so weird, and then I'm in the jail, like stretching out, like they're talking about how they're going to let me out. Your boss is going to get you out. And I'm just like, man, I'm going to light this fucking place up, dude. Like, they let me out of here, and it never happened. Iowa was just being super strict. And I think that's back when, like Dana was like, you know what, man, they really have it out for this kid. I don't understand it. And he kind of took my side on that, and stuck with me. And, thank God, bro, because that was a wild situation. And
Yes.
I didn't get out that night. I ended up having to get deported back to Iowa like 8 days, 7, 8 days later. And then I spent a couple days there, and into Iowa. I was like in jail for like 2 weeks before they even lowered my bond and this and that, bro. Had a huge hassle to deal with, and definitely a hard learning lesson in life.
Man, I didn't know about the deported back. They took, like, they drove you back from Minnesota?
Yeah, they drove me back. Yeah,
Wow. Holy
yeah.
shit. There you
And
are. You're about to
what's
headline a
funny? I was
UFC
like, hey,
event.
yeah, I was like, hey man, can you guys let me use the phone so I could like set up my like bank account so my sister, someone can grab me some money, my wife, like get some money out of my bank to get me out of here. And they were being cool, let me use the phone. And then once I got there, like it wasn't good. I saw the judge like right at the very beginning, and I was like, yeah, can I get my 100,000 cash surety? Seems kind of wild for just an assault charge, and they're like, nope, close the book. I go back into the cell, and then I'm on the TV watching it, and there was a guy who had faked his transcripts, who had gone to jail. He was like 23 years old, faked his like school transcripts. He was working at a school, had basically molested a little 16-year-old girl, and then they took him in, and he had a $10,000 bond, and they put him in protective custody. And that's when I was like sitting in here, and I'm like, bro, I'm here for an alleged assault, and I had $100,000 like cash surety bond on me. That's when I was like, man, fuck Iowa, fuck the system. Like, I'm fucked. I thought for sure I was like going to be in there to rot. So
Damn.
it was a wild deal, man, and I'm so glad those days are over. It was a hard learning lesson, but it's one that I'll never forget, and something that I'll use with value to this day.
Did that get thrown out? Like, what was the conclusion of that?
Yeah, I got off of everything. I got a lawyer, Alfredo Parrish, my guy Matt Bowles in Iowa with Alfredo Parrish Law Firm. It's one of the best law firms in Iowa that you could get, and they got me off once all the facts came to. My name got dragged through the mud like I'm some fucking idiot just doing this. And look, I've been in some street fights, guys, but I grew up very well mannered. I never started fights. I went through a lot of schools. I got picked on a lot, and I made sure that people just, once they, hey man, don't fuck with me. And if they continue to mess with me, I always had it from my dad, like, hey, make sure no one, ever does that again. Tell the teacher, or, if like, hey, if people keep fucking with you, make sure they never put their hands on you or try to bully you again. And that's how I grew up. So I never started fights, but I could definitely finish one for sure.
By the way, while we're reminiscing, did you know January 12th, 10 days ago, marked the 20th anniversary of your first pro MMA fight? It was at Downtown Destruction 1. Do you remember? Do you remember who you fought on that night?
Yeah, Red Worthington knocked him out via uppercut in 33 seconds.
Damn. 33
Wow,
seconds in
dude,
your
my whole life
debut.
changed right there, bro. Like that adrenaline that night. He should have beat me. Guy was vicious, on paper, but I got something that a lot of people don't really think about, which is a very strong mindset and blessed by heavy hands.
How much did you get paid for that fight?
I didn't. They were going to pay me 200, and that no one ever paid me.
Ah,
So
how'd you
it was back in
celebrate?
them days, bro. Like life learning lessons, and then shortly after that, I'd like gone up to Minnesota and fought for some bullshit fucking promoters. All promoters are scumbags pretty much. So went up there, and the guy just gave me like $60 gas money. Didn't even offer me to pay me my full pay. So. And at that point, bro, I didn't care. I didn't have a family back then. I was just doing it for the fun and pussy. That was it.
Do you remember how you celebrated?
Yeah, driving home and apologizing to my buddy who drove me up that I was going to pay for the gas.
Oh, damn.
But like they were excited because I'd won the fight, and like everybody was just happy to just that I had won and gone up there and did my thing.
The crazy
We
thing is,
almost got beat up leaving there too, man. I guess it was like a hometown guy. I've done this a couple times. I went to Fort Dodge on like a day notice and fought up there in a small town and beat up their hometown hero. And I've had people chasing me out of their lot, and that same night I was warming up. I beat up this guy, go out there, knee him like it was like Marvin Eastman and Vitor Belfort. A guy's leaking. I end up guillotining him as he was trying to take me down, passed him out. Get up, I'm just celebrating, like, and it's a small town, bunch of white hillbilly type people, like, we're just trying to chase me down, and I'm like, man, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Well, the promoter comes back and he's like, hey man, this dude doesn't have a fight, and it was like some black guy that was warming up in the back, he was like, he was kind of close by me, I knew he had like another fight, and he's like, hey, do you want to fight this guy? And I only got paid $500 just to go up there on a short notice. And I was like, yeah, pay me a flat 1,000. And he's like, da da da. And I had Josh Neer at the time, and he goes, bro, he just fought. Like he'll do it. Like he'll do it. You pay me a flat 1,000. The guy kind of was like, all right, like I'll pay you. And he looks over to the guy, the kid, and he'd been like warming up and stuff. And he's like, hey, do you want to fight him? And he had just seen what I just did, dude. I mean, I left this dude split like bad, and he was just like, nah. So I was like, all right, man, let's like Josh Neer was in the UFC at the time. He was selling t-shirts. I'm like, go, dude, get your t-shirts. Like, let's get the fuck out of here, bro. We're not welcome here. Like, we got the bag. We got the $500 that time. They actually paid me, and we got out of there.
I love these stories.